Whoa, look at those hands. That's a much older Mikasa. But a young heir. Oh. Iconic moment of the series, right? But this time I got something else as well.
あとどれだけ先かわからないが、俺はこの人たちを皆殺しにする。きっとこの先のパラディ島が生き延びる道が見つからなかったんだろう。
Or having that in your mind.
何もかもがなくなる。家も少なくとも島と外じゃ
Look at his
死ぬ人
looming
の数
presence.
が違いすぎる。エルディア人が完全に死滅すれば巨人の問題がなくなるのも事実だ。
It's great to get this internal monologue finally.
そんな結末納得できない。
Oh, I've seen that look before.
この光景未来の記憶で見たこと
Oh,
が。
that's right. They showed this in the last episode.
おそらく俺は
In the alley, right?
この少年を助ける。
Yeah, it's him. They go to the camp later, right?
こりゃ害虫駆除ってわけだ。あんたには関係ねえわ。うっせえな。
ああ、
Is that Reiner's
そ
dad?
うだな。
Dad?
いずれこの少年も殺すくせに。
Ah.
それ以下だ。ごめん。
That explains the tears as Mikasa comes up on him. Sorry for this. But they don't speak. He doesn't understand Eren though, right?
島をエルディアを救うため。
God.
それだけじゃ
Chills.
壁の外の現実は俺が夢見た世界と違ってた。アルミンの本で見た世界と
Oh yeah,
違って
it's
た。
really different. I mean, there's people.
人類が生きていると知って俺は
Oh god.
がっかりした。俺は望んだんだ。全て消し去ってしまいたかった。ごめん。
Whoa. Whoa. Oh god.
ごめんなさい。
I wanted this, eh? It introduces a totally new dynamic. Ah. Huh. Ah, the dojo, the training area. Oh, Grisha's parents.
私たちの裁かれる日が。
Oh. Wow. Oh, yes.
俺の目の前には鬱陶しい壁があった。炎の水、
Lens of
氷
fire.
の大地。
Sorry, lens of ice.
これが
Whoa.
自由だ。
ついにたどり着いたぞ。この景色に。
Oh. It's almost as if it's like a delusion.
なあ、
It's back to child Eren. Whoa. Oh, he brought him in. They made a promise, right? To explore together, so he gave him a taste of it. That was an incredible scene. Gripping. Dark.
寂しくて気が狂いそうだったから。あんたとヒッチの話だけが。
Yeah, she was lucid the whole time, right? Oh.
会いたかったからだ。兄。
Hey.
なんで？
Nah.
本当にわか
You're
ら
not
ない
gonna get off that easy,
ヒッチ
Armin.
があんなにからかってたのに。あんたがいい人だから私みたいな敵にも話しかけてたんでしょう。エレンとの対話を諦めないのと。
Kind of goes back to season 1, right? In that
い
alley.
つ目を覚ますかわからない。化け物の相手をすることも 争いを避けるた
The
め
conversation about being a good person. Oh.
座りなよ。あと前にも言ったけど、いい人って言い方がやっぱり嫌いだ。仲間を殺
Call of silence. Iconic. Everyone has blood on their
頭の
hands,
どこ
right?
かでいつかエレンと一緒に未知の世界を旅するって約束。それが叶うと思ってたんだ。
But that vision of it doesn't exist.
未知の世界はそんなにいいものじゃなかったでしょ。
Aaron seems to be quite disappointed about that. Really
僕らが夢見
disappointed.
た世界とは違ったよ。でも
No.
まだ僕らが知らない壁の向こう側があるはずだと信じたいんだ。穏やかで
Oh,
痛い。
the look. Hey. That's cute, man. That's so cute.
わかった。何が
It's okay. It's okay.
辛い思いをしなくていい。人類を救うためにエレンを殺しに行くの。殺さない。遠くに行ったエレンを連れ戻す。
Oh, Mikasa.
私はただそれだけ。無茶ですよ。
Ah, hate you.
まだ寝てろだと。これ以上寝てたらお前ら俺の存在を忘れちまうだろうが。それをか骨折の鉄とかで寝込んでたクソヒゲ女の意識が戻った。
Yelena.
エレンの行き先を吐かせるぞ。
認めてください。ジークは敗れた。
Oh,
でも正しかった。
I mean,
2000年に及ぶエルディア人問題の解決策は安楽死計画しかなかったのです。
seeing how it's
この
playing on
惨状を
now.
見ればお分かりでしょう。
Uh,
ああ、認めるよ。
oh,
エレンに何の解決策も希望や未来を示せ
there must be so much guilt, right?
私の無力さ。
Ah, okay. I admit that. Oh. Oh.
2本も指がありゃ十分だ。問題ね
謝りたかった。お前とベルトルトに。すべてはあの日、俺が作戦を続行したことから始まった。あの日、もし引き返していたら、
My God, imagine just
お前もベルトルト
thinking about that over and over.
故郷に帰って家族に会えたのに。
何度殺そうとして思いとどまったかわからない。
よく我慢できたな。
Oh. Oh.
ガビとファルコを頼んだ。
了解した。
兄、気をつけてな。またね。
Hacho's giving her the stink eye. Oh.
でも兄はもう十分戦っただろう。
よかったよ。
Connie.
兄は兄のままで。
Ah, that rooftop in Shiganshina.
地ならしが止まったとして、後のエルディア人の立場を考えたらピーク。ぜひ今度車力の巨人の背中に乗ってその体温を感じながら。
嫌です。何ですか急に。
Good old Hanji.
相変わらず巨人とは片思いのままだな。クソメガネ。
ねえ、リヴァイ。みんな見てるかな。
Wow.
今の私たちを死んだ仲間
Oh
に
wow,
誇れる
she's
かな。
kind of channeling her inner Smith.
やつみてえなこと
Yeah.
言ってんじゃねえ。
Yeah.
よかった。地ならしが来る前に。
Oh my God, no. Holy shit, this dude. I mean, you've got to give it to him. You've got to give it to him. This man just does not quit. This might be the end of the line, though.
まさか船にしがみついてここまで。
My God. And he was injured as well. Oh,
燃料
shit.
タンクに。
I mean, that's how much it means to flock. You have to respect that. The resilience.
穴を塞げばなんとかなる。溶接の準備を。
Speaking of resilience. Oh, yes. It's the last thing they needed at this point. Now you've got the ticking time bomb.
まさか。
Spice it up a bit.
島のみんな
Sooner or later. And he kind of alluded to this as well, right? Who's going to protect the Eldians down the line?
アルミン、何か手はないの？
I don't like it. I don't like it.
これしかない。僕が残って足止めを。
お前はダメだ。エレンを止める切り札はお前しかいない。ここは俺が。
ダ
No!
メに決まってるだろ。巨人の力は
Oh,
もう
look at
一
this.
切消耗させるわけにはいかない。
The wings of freedom.
みんなをここまで率いてきたのは私だ。大勢の仲間を殺してまで進んできた。
Again, channeling her inner
その
Smith.
けじめを
Oh,
つける。
ハンジさん。
君を15代調査兵団団長に任命する。
yeah.
調査兵団団長に求められる資質は理解することを諦めない姿勢にあ
He
る。
had those qualities all the way back in season 1.
君にはいない。
It finally happened, but
みんなを頼んだよ。というわけだ。
look at them, they're all in shock.
わかるだろう、リヴァイ。ようやく来たって感じだ。私の番が。今、最高にカッコつけたい気分なんだよ。
My God.
心臓を捧げよ
Oh. That's the first time he said it, right? I've never heard him say it.
君が言ってんのは初めてだよ。
It is. Oh. Oh.
やっぱり巨人って
Just like her first appearance. But how much can she really do though? We've got a limited amount of thunder spears, right? Ah, okay, yeah. That's quite effective. Oh. Now she's really quite close to them. There should be a lot of heat, right? Oh. Oh. Ah. Alright, setting in now. Oh, it exploded. He knows that feeling. Oh. Like a fallen angel. Last man standing.
じゃあなハンジ見ててくれ
And that's a beautiful send off.
飛び立ったよ。
Oh.
ハンジ、お前は役目を果たした。
Oh my god. All of
エ
them.
ルヴィ
Mike,
ン、みんな
Moblet, Keith. Oh, this is beautiful.
そっか。
Of course, Moblet. Oh, the bandana guy. And Ian?
まったく団長なんかに指名されて大変だったよ。
There's horses.
ああ、大変だった。
Was that Sasha in black?
ゆっくり聞くよ。
Oh, yeah, they've got all the time for stories now. Yeah, that's a beautiful send off. Oh, wow, yeah. Yeah. How do you begin to even move on? Because you have no choice. You have to move on. There's no time for it.
ハンジさんが繋いでくれたこの飛行艇。
She played her part.
俺が必ず基地まで届けてみせる。
He'll do it. He'll do it.
必ずだ。必ず地ならしを止めてくれ。何としてでも。
Yeah. That being the key, right? Right then, Commander.
じゃあ作戦を話し合おう。
どこにいるかわからなくてもまとめて吹き飛ばすことはできる。あなたがレベリオ軍港の跡形もなくしたように、あなたの超大型巨人なら。
But they want to talk first, though, right? Oh, yes. Look at this.
それが一番有効なやり方だ。でもそれは エレンとの対話を尽くしてから。
最終手段があるに越したことはないが、
It's going to get to the
エ
last
レンはジー
resort.
クを介して始祖の巨人を支配してんだろう。先にジークを殺しちまえば地ならしは止まるんじゃな
How
い
do you even begin to find
確
Zeke?
かにそうかもしれません。
探すしかねえだろう。あの骨の中から
Yeah, he's got a promise
ク
to
ソ
keep.
野郎。
Oh,
ジークは
of course.
俺が仕留める。
He'll never stop.
力を
Oh, look at this.
貸してくれ。
この飛行艇を飛ばすために仲間を大勢殺しました。あれを無意味な殺戮にするわけにはいきません。
There's this acceptance there now, right? That everyone has blood on their
地なら
hands.
しを止めるため。
And that's the one thing that matters.
裏切り者って言われながら世界を救うためだって
Oh, wow.
言い聞かせて。お前もベルトルトも兄も
Now, yeah. Now he's got that complete understanding of his situation back then.
もうあがなうこともできない罪だ。
Yeah.
だ
Oh,
からませめて残りの人類を救おうぜ。
そうだなライナ
oh.
できなくても
This takes me back to season 2.
やるしかねえよな。
そうだ。俺たちは同じだ。ライナ
Oh.
ー、お前を責める資格なんてなかったんだ。俺は人を救うため人殺しに。
Everyone has an understanding now. Everyone. For each other's.
レベリオ襲撃の夜に
Yeah, yeah, he did. Yeah, he sure did.
俺はエレンの考えてることが少しわかる気がする。エレンは俺たちを止めて
Whoa,
ほしいんじゃないか。
Reiner.
ずっと疑問に思ってた。
Ah, see, now that gets the conversation going.
エレンは全ての巨人とエルディア人に影響を与えることができる。なのに僕らは変わりなく巨人の力を使えるままだ。
エレンは意図的に我々を放任してるってこと？
It's precisely.
自由にやらせてる。まるで
Could have stopped it
僕
just
た
like
ちが
that if he
どうする
wanted.
のかを試すみたいに。
あいつだって辛いはずなんだ。人類虐殺なんてとても。
This is someone who can understand that. Maybe not on that scale, but he understands.
もう始祖の力を誰かに任せてしまいたい。それができなければ終わりにしてほしい。
This is such a.
誰かに。
Whoa.
またかよ。
これは
Armin was here earlier. Now, did he tell anyone about that?
なんだ聞いてやがったのか。
今なら不可侵条約を結んで終わりにできる。これ以上誰も殺さなく
But
ていい。
sooner or later, they'll come. They'll come for the island. Maybe after their time, but they'll come.
僕たちが悪かった。エレンをここまで追い込んだのは僕らだ。
I don't know, man. Aaron had some selfish reasons for this as well.
もう俺たちのために虐殺なんてやらなくていい。
There's other reasons.
サシャのことでお前を憎んだけど、本当はお前だって悲しかったんだよな。なのにちっともお前の立場になろうともしなかった。
A lot of empathy. A lot of empathy going around.
エレン、
Oh, yes.
あなたの罪を一緒に背負いたい。
Oh.
だからお願い、帰ってきて。
Didn't she say something similar before?
だとよエレン。今ならケツに蹴り入れるだけで勘弁してやる。地ならしは止まらない。パラディ島の未来を運に任せて放棄することもない。
If you wanted to stop, come stop
俺
it,
は
right?
進み続ける。
Yeah, it's Kid Aaron again. See, they actually even. Oh god.
子供シャネク。
でもあれはエレンだよ。
Yeah, Mikasa has seen that Aaron do some dark shit.
俺
Oh
は自
yes.
由を手に入れるため世界から自由を奪う。だ
Whoa.
がお前らからは何も奪わない。
Oh.
お前たちは自由だ。
Now choose.
お前らが世界の自由を守るのも自由。 互いに曲げられぬ信念がある限り俺たちは衝突する。
It's so jarring to see Child Aaron
俺
though.
たちがやることはただ一つ。戦え。
Tatakai, another iconic line.
そんな
Let's save it for the discussion though, this depiction of Aaron.
話し合いは必要ないと話すため、俺を止めたいのなら俺の息の根を止めてみろ。お前らは自由だ。
I mean, he's hoping for that, right?
どうする団長。
Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh,
ジーク
nice.
とエレンを結びつけたのは私です。
Yeah. Blood on. Everyone's got blood on their
この大
hands.
殺戮
A
を
lot of
招いた
guilt.
罪をあがなう術など存在し得ないでしょう。
もしまたやり直せるならエルディア人に干渉せずパラディ島を見殺しにする。
But also, let's not forget
時が遡ることはありません。ですが後悔が絶えることはあ
that
り
she
ま
also
せん。
had other interests in
エル
mind.
ディア人の生きる道を私は全てを尽くして模索したとは言えません。一族の利益と家名を守ることを何よりの務めとして参りました。
Though also. Oh,
どうして失う前に気づけないものでしょうか。
yeah. Look at this.
損も得もなく他者を尊ぶ気持ちに。
兄さん、俺夢を見たんです。
夢？ガリアードの
ジークさんの夢。いや、
Whoa.
記憶です。
Whoa.
やっぱりだ。じゃあ
もしかしたらなんとかなるかも。
いや、でもまさか本当に
He is one of Zeke's titans.
石炭でも運んでな。
He is one of Zeke's titans, right?
ジークの記憶を見たって言った。
Go on, go on.
はい。僕はジークさんの脊髄液で巨人になりました。
獣の巨人の特徴が発現してるみたいなんです。
Ooh.
そう。
一番よく見る記憶は雲の上を飛んでいた記憶です。そしてそれが僕にも
He was destined to fly. That ending from season 4, part 1. And of course, his titan form, right?
さあな、
Hey!
あの岩山を登らなきゃわからないが、
Look at him.
本当に飛行船を奪って逃げられると思ってるのか、お前らエルディア人。
Really, dude?
望みが低かろうと関係ない。必ず生き残るぞ。
He's a tough mofo, man. Hey, Finder's mom.
おい、あれ、そんな。
Oh.
急げ、一機でも残っていればいい。分かってる。おい。
Yeah, is that not the smoke?
あの煙。
It is.
嵐だ。終わりだ。
But they're going into the rumbling.
あの飛行船、巨人どもに向かっていくぞ。どういうことだ。
Kamikaze attack?
爆撃だよ。巨人の手が届かない空から吹っ飛ばすんだ。
Safety of the sky. I mean,
かけるつもりだ。
oh, poor
撃だっ
bastards.
て。俺たち助かるのか。
It's the hope that kills.
この要塞にいるすべての兵士に次ぐ。
Who's this?
ここが人類に残された
Abe Lincoln
最後
over
の
here.
砦となる。この責任は我々すべての大人たちにある。憎しみを利用し、憎しみを育み続け、憎しみに救いがあると信じ、我々が至らぬ問題のすべてを悪魔の島へ吐き捨ててきた。
Look at this.
その結果、あの怪物が生まれ、
The
我
monster
々
you
が与え
created,
続
eh?
けてきた憎悪を返しに来た。もしも再び未来を見ることが叶うなら、二度と同じ過ちは犯さないと私は誓う。
I mean, it's a good sign, but you're just one person. How about the rest of the world? Yeah, there's a lot of guilt on this side as well, right? For the things they put their children through.
私はあの子をずっと復讐の道具に。また母親らしいこと
You're not alone, though.
何も。
Pretty much all of them got pushed into it.
皆もどうか誓ってほしい。憎しみ合う時代との決別。
Look at this. You've got an audience.
互いを思いやる世界の幕開けをここで
It's a nice thought. It's a nice thought, but human nature. That was a Titan transformation. Oh my god. Ah. But that's not the beast type. I mean, it is the shape of the beast type. Oh wow. I mean, that's a warhammer, or the ability of the warhammer, right? Look at the detail. Yeah. I mean, some of these children have been failed for a long time. Long time. Hold on. Here they come. She's got good eyesight. Oh. Like I said, there's an audience. A mix of all kinds of people. Oh no, I hope he doesn't. Whoa! Of course, the Ackermans felt that before anyone else. Nah, that's not. It can't be, right? It's a Warhammer's abilities. Oh. Oh. Let's go, Ryder. Let's go. Ah. There's audience. Now people get to watch. Whoa. Armin is him.
もう一度質問させてくれ。君のどこが自由なのかって。そこから引きずり出した後。
Whoa, is that it? That flew by. Honestly, that really flew by. That opening though. Older Mikasa. See you later, Eren. Though he didn't say the thing about the hair. From chapter 1 of the manga? Okay, yeah. Shingeki's back. I mean, Shingeki's been back for some time now for many of you. For most of you, I'm guessing at this point. But it's back for me, specifically. Of course, finally checked it out. Yeah, you know, the Attack on Titan special. And it's really quite the special. It really is. And before I get into my detailed thoughts about the episode itself, again, much to get to, let's kind of focus on the special as a whole. And maybe, you know, I'll do a bit of an intro segment as well, because, you know, you may have noticed by now, I don't really do those types of intros anymore. You know, there's a few different reasons for it. I mean, it's not gone for good. I've actually even thought about bringing them back. Yeah, but again, for this one, I didn't really feel the need to record an intro. Hell, I mean, I might have, but then, you know, I was kind of looking back at some of my own stuff. You know, I usually use it to recap. And, you know, I was looking at the intro for season 4, episode 1, I believe, right? The first episode of the final season. And yeah, I thought it was really quite comprehensive in terms of my thoughts on the direction of the story, you know, potential endgame thoughts and theories, things I'm expecting, things I need to learn still. And then, you know, if you go back to perhaps my post-episode discussion to the most recent episode before this, The Dawn of Humanity, yeah, I think, you know, there's a decent amount of coverage there. And many of you have been around for years at this point. So yeah, you know my thoughts. You know my thoughts on the end game, the direction it's heading into, and all of that. So I didn't feel like repeating all of that again. But if you happen to be new to my channel, and I'm sure there might be a few new eyes on the channel, I implore you to check out the ones I mentioned. But yeah, you know, in terms of some of the things I might have stated in the intro, I'll just do it here, right, in the post-episode portion. So, you know, first of all, thank you, right? Thank you to all the returning subscribers. Even if you're not a subscriber, you know, thank you for showing up. I know, yeah, you know, there's always a segment that's around, right? They've been around for years, but maybe they're not a subscriber of your channel. Maybe they don't even have a YouTube account, right? But you still might be around for years. So I appreciate you as well, right? Yeah, man, it's been quite the long journey. I've been doing this on the channel for a long time now. 2017 maybe, or late 2016. Yeah, one or the other. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't there right at the beginning of this anime, but in comparison to most, I'd say I was there in the early stages of the anime at least. I think season 2 was actually airing as I was finishing up season 1, I believe, maybe something along those lines. I just remember a lot of hype around season 2. So yeah, I think it was around that time. So yeah, I've been around. It's been a great experience over the years. But of course, since then, every year, I'm sure many new people discover this anime. And let's be honest, this anime is one of those lightning rods for perhaps a new channel even, right? It really has quite the fan base, and of course, quite the diverse fan base at that. And have some talking points about that aspect of it. Yeah, so maybe I wasn't there right at the beginning, but I was there before the explosion, I think, of Shingeki content or reaction content on YouTube. I think I'm certain of that. So yeah, it's really quite fantastic to notice familiar names from years ago, and profile pics even from years ago, because a lot of you kind of keep the same profile pic, and I like that. I really do. And a lot of times those names and those profile pics, yeah, they get stuck in the mind for sure. So yeah, I'm excited about that aspect of it as well, dipping into the comments once it is safe to do so. And of course, big thank you to Cephazin. As you guys know, Cephazin's the homie, the mod who keeps it rock solid, keeps it airtight in the comment section so I can dip into it. I mean, as a content creator, I think it's quite important to be dipping into your own comment section, right? And to see the things people have to say, different opinions and all that, right? For the most part, it's usually quite friendly, but of course, like I mentioned earlier, Shingeki or Attack on Titan is a lightning rod for perhaps some negative reasons as well, right? So sometimes it has to be cleaned up by a mod. But yeah, I'll be more than happy to dip into it, once it's clear. It might not be even anytime soon, but sooner or later, I dip into the comments. But yeah, let's get into the episode itself. I think as a whole, it is a spectacular episode. I think it does live up to all that hype, and there was a lot of hype behind it. Though I must admit, I noticed that it died down rather quickly upon release or after release. It wasn't like that last time. Now, that might be because it's not a season format. And ultimately, I was happy that it was released in this format, right, for television. Again, as a special, super long runtime, essentially 3 episodes together. But also, that being said, after experiencing it, I mean, this could have been a damn exciting experience in a movie theater. I think so. So yeah, it could have been cool if there was a secondary option to still go and check it out in a movie theater. But of course, maybe that's not the most realistic, right? A lot of things have to come into play to pull something like that off. It's not as easy as just giving the audience both options. I'm sure only one or the other was a possibility. But yeah, in terms of the hype dying rather quickly, it's probably because it's a one and done rather than a seasonal release, right? There you have 12, 16, 14 episodes perhaps, right? So that really kind of builds that hype as it reaches that crescendo by the finale of a season, of a series. And also that is one of the main reasons a lot of people don't like the whole Netflix binge model, drop the whole season at once. I mean, that might be one of the issues I have. But more so than that, I think it's just a silly concept. I know many people prefer it. They just want to consume the whole thing in one sitting, or anytime they want. But I don't know. Call me old school, but that's nah. But that being said, I think maybe this release schedule has kind of made an impact on my experience of it, perhaps. It disappears for a long time, right? It does. And I don't know, one of the saddest moments of this episode is the incredible send-off to Hanji, right? So deserving. That is just one of the most iconic moments of the entire anime at this point. She deserved that send-off, right? It's an incredible moment. of course, that score played as well. I didn't get a chance to mention it, but yeah, from season 1, right? Forest of the Giant Trees, as Levi Squad or Squad Levi is asking Eren for his decision, right? And it kind of flashes back to those moments of Petra asking him to trust them. So yeah, it was a beautiful touch to play that specific score. I mean, in that sense, it's fantastic to hear a lot of the original Sawano score in this episode. A lot of iconic moments. And listen, I don't know the names for many of them, actually. I just kind of never tried to learn the names, but I know the score. I know it inside and out. Anytime I hear a specific piece of music, be it Sawano, be it more recently Yamamoto, I know, because there are some incredible moments in this anime. And I think, and I've been saying this since day one, if you've been around, you know my take or my opinion on the importance of a score, a good score, a phenomenal score. And this anime has always had that on its side. So anytime an iconic piece of music shows up in a scene, yeah, you almost immediately kind of get transported back to another iconic moment from the anime. And that happened a lot in this episode as well. And the thing is, even if the music itself has been around for years at this point, even now, even here in this special, those same tracks, they are able to make some of these moments incredible. They are crucial in making those moments incredible, right? Yeah, so that was one of the standouts again, of course. And, as I am on the topic of the production side of things, before this actually aired, Sefizin, again, the trusty mod, he sent me some articles and stuff, right? And one of them was of Hayashi and him being really quite excited about this release. And I believe he was saying that this is the best that their footage has ever looked for Shingeki, right? And listen, yeah, I think he wasn't lying. He was kind of spot on, right? He wasn't bullshitting. He wasn't just kind of trying to create hype. They delivered and then some, right? This is just incredible quality on display, right? Stunning animation, stunning art direction, beautiful photography altogether. I mean, the color design in this is just brilliant. It really is. It's one of the standouts, I'd say, from a visual standpoint, right? So impactful, so evocative as well. The dynamic camera movements in some of this animation is just, again, so cinematic. I mean, yeah, legitimately, it is essentially good enough to be in a movie theater, right? That's the quality here, right? Sure, maybe there's a few moments it kind of gets a little bit choppy, but I'm only speaking of like 1 or 2 scenes out of an hour-long episode or special, right? So the standard is just quite fantastic, quite impressive, and it most definitely deserved this type of release, this type of treatment, right? It's a cultural phenomenon at this point. It has been for a long time, actually, for years. So it could have been heartbreaking if some of those scheduling issues continued and, it didn't quite deliver. But that being said, I'm sure there still might have been some crunch required, right? Maybe in the conclusion phase. But the thing I know, again, from that article that I read before this is released or was released, yeah, Hayashi was really quite upfront about some of the crunch issues, right? Some of the scheduling issues for just the last part. But yeah, it's great. It's just really satisfying to see that it got the attention it deserved. I mean, I'm not even sure if there is an anime out there or on the horizon at this point that could kind of fill in for Shingeki once it's done, or could become a cultural phenomenon at the same level as Shingeki. I'm not sure if that's even possible anytime soon. And also in the same article, he mentioned that the storyboard is complete for part 2, for the true finale, right? And that's supposed to come out in fall. But let's see, usually Shingeki dates or release dates are not set in stone and they can be delayed more often than not. But that being said, I do believe that it is time for the story to end now, right? It's just been going on, and the whole final season fiasco, I suppose. There's a lot of jokes about it. Listen, I know some of you may not like this or me saying this, but yeah, at times it does feel like it's kind of dragging on now. I just kind of need to experience the ending for it. And my preference would have been them releasing part 1 and 2 together, just as one big special, I suppose. Apparently that was the initial plan, but they needed more time, and I'm more than happy to hear that they are given more time. But then, of course, because of that, they had to split this up, right? Of course, there's a whole legal side of things. You know, they might have been signed up to release something in this time frame, so I suppose they released part 1. And listen, again, I'm all about being honest. I think maybe some of the scheduling might have actually had an impact on my experience of Shingeki. Perhaps my emotional attachment to some elements of Shingeki. Perhaps some of the characters. I mean, one of the standout moments, one of the most incredible moments of this special, perhaps even Shingeki as a whole, is Hanji's send-off. It is just so fitting. It's a fitting send-off. And of course, you know, that depiction of the afterlife as well. Oh my God. That is just a beautiful touch. It really is. It really is. It truly is. And I'll get into that as well. But yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe a year ago, I would have been a mess. I'm pretty sure I would have been a teary-eyed mess during that scene. But I sat here and I found myself not... I mean, it registers that it's incredibly sad, but, you know, I didn't truly actually feel it. And I hate to say it, but, you know, again, the whole point is to be honest about these things. And of course, you know, it's a subjective thing. It's more of a me thing for that specific situation, I suppose. I mean, maybe it's not even that. Maybe tomorrow it could have been different. I don't know. Sometimes it's a timing thing, a mood thing as well. I mean, you know, I can get quite emotional from time to time, especially if I'm really quite attached to characters and a story. And that is the case for Shingeki, for sure. It is. It has been. But ultimately, you know, I'm not the type that cries at everything. But from time to time, things can hit me hard. They can. I was just a little bit surprised that I wasn't that emotional during that incredible moment. But I should go back and finish my point about the production side of things. The detailed expressions in this special are just immense. The detailed eyes, the looks, the tight shots of the eyes. Oh my goodness. It's just, it really is quite impactful, isn't it? And it needed to be. It needed to be, given the magnitude of the things at play throughout this episode. The emotions on display throughout this episode, or the lack of emotions, or it kind of heightens the lack of emotion, right? You know, I mentioned the focus on the detailed eyes or close-ups as well. Then you have moments like inside of the Path Realm, Ymir and Child Eren, the eyes being shadowed out, right? Really quite noticeable in comparison to the really detailed expressions and the focus on the eyes. A lot of detailed crying moments, right? Be it civilians in Marley or Liberio getting trampled by the Colossal Titans. There's this really jarring and sad shot of a mother and the 2 children, right? The tears are just flowing in great detail, right? Be it, you know, on the flying boat after Hanji dies, and then you've got the Levi squad really, really letting it out, right? Again, detailed tears. It's quite a sad moment. And, you know, one of the saddest things about it is seeing Levi, Heicho, sitting there, right? You know, I've been saying it, you know, he's destined to be the last of his kind. Yeah, he's the last man standing now. But of course, you cannot keep Heicho down. He's got a task at hand, a promise to keep. He's still hunting Zeke. And they think they might have found him. I mean, you know, this depiction of the Beast Titan, again, it's the Warhammer Titan at play, right? That ability at play. It's still essentially just as devastating as the Beast Titan. But I'm sure in part 2, they'll realize, no, this isn't it. This isn't it. Because of course, there's no chance in hell you could risk Zeke being out there, right? Because Zeke is a crucial component of this, right? Royal blood. So of course, you know, of course he's not going to be out there. You know, Eren's not going to risk him out there. So who knows, right? How they could potentially get to Zeke, how they could potentially draw him out. But of course, that conclusion is just incredible, isn't it? A lot of really beautiful animation on display. Of course, you know, them jumping out of the plane, how it's handled there is just beautiful, right? A bit of slow motion, kind of cutting out some of the score and then bringing it back in. Really quite effective in building up that moment. And Reiner of course, once again becoming the Armored Titan, Peak becoming the Card Titan. But yeah, like I mentioned, there's quite the audience, isn't there, to see this, to see these people come together, people from Paradis, going up against their own, right? And then you've got also some of Marley's own or Liberio's own. But the thing is, it's still quite a sad moment, isn't it? Them finally kind of initiating their final attack on Eren, essentially, right? I mean, yes, there's reasons for it, but still, you kind of take everything into account. It's Eren at the end of the day, that Eren from season 1, from season 2, yes, parts of him are still kind of there. You can still kind of see that Eren present here and there every now and then in a few moments, especially in the beginning of the episode, right? He does kind of go back to save Ramsey. And right there, you kind of get a glimpse of that Eren from all that time ago. The Eren that used to fight for the little guy. Back then, he used to be Armin. But speaking of that audience, there is a prominent figure there, right? You've got that general or commander, the guy who looked like Abe Lincoln. There's a significant moment as he openly admits, right, on the microphone, I suppose, on the speakers, that they all have a hand in this. That they created this monster, and now it's marching that hatred back at them. Hate breeds hate, retaliation breeds retaliation, right? I mean, the whole, concept of the cyclical nature of generational conflict is certainly at play. And I'm not sure if ultimately they are going to put a stop to it, but he's certainly saying all the right things, right? He's saying all the right things. If by some miracle they get out of this, and I believe they are going to live to see another day. But the thing is, it took this apocalyptic or cataclysmic incident to be put into place or to be put into motion for them to realize this, right? There is this element of maybe it's a little bit too late, right? Or ultimately, it required something of this magnitude, of this scale. Essentially, Judgment Day. And of course, that reminds me of Grisha's parents stuck in that jail cell. His mother specifically mentioned Judgment Day, didn't she? Ugh, that's rough, man. That's rough. But also, I suppose a lot of their family or families got out of there, right? So there was that cliffhanger moment, right, as Annie's father is at the gate. So I suppose they got out of there, right? Again, he's the one who trained Annie, so clearly he's able to handle himself. So they made it through those guards, and then they got out of there and got on the train. But yeah, at the end of the day, he's imploring everyone to remember this. And again, if they get out by some miracle, to change things, right? To make sure this never happens again. And of course, that is one of the major components of this episode, or one of the major themes of this episode, accepting responsibility for the part you played. Everyone has blood on their hands, right down to Azumabito, Kiyomi Azumabito, right? She herself feels a lot of guilt for bringing Zeke and Eren together, right? I mean, she actually plays quite a role in the grand scheme of things, right? You see that ultimately everyone believes that they have a responsibility to at least try to stop this, right? Give it their best shot. But also on the flip side, there is a lot of empathy in this episode. A lot of it, right? A lot of it is on display through Mikasa and Annie as well, right? Once upon a time, they used to be enemies, right? Once upon a time, she wanted Eren to just kill Annie, right? But things change. Things change. People change. You learn, you grow, you have context. I think it's beautiful that a lot of these people are able to kind of understand the struggles each one may have faced all that time ago. The reason they might have been in that situation in the first place. Some context for their actions, right? So I thought that was one of the great standout moments of this episode. And the thing is, I know there's also a portion of the fan base that doesn't like that, right? They're not able to get over the fact that people learn, they grow, they have context. I kind of noticed this in some of the comment sections for this past season, the last season before this, people just want Annie to be punished, to hold grudges. They want characters to hold grudges. They do not want them to grow and learn from their experiences, and to set aside that animosity that they did have once upon a time. No, some people, they just want punishment. Some people are just not able to get over that. That, once upon a time, they did them wrong. They did these characters wrong, and they should not be friendly now. So it's possible maybe that some of that attitude comes from maybe some of the younger fan base. It's possible. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna get into that too much. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, it's quite the diverse fan base. Really, it's got to be the most diverse fan base I've come across in my time on YouTube. All sorts of ages, demographics, and all sorts of experiences. And of course, I can guarantee you some of the same people might have a totally different opinion a few years down the line once they do get to experience more. But I just think, still having that us against them mentality, even now in this phase of the story, is just really quite unrealistic. They've moved past it. And it's realistic that they have moved past it, right? This situation has brought them together, and it's brought them closer together. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful moments in this, a lot of human moments in this. I mentioned Annie and Reiner saying their goodbyes. Oh my God, that's it's a beautiful moment. It really is. Imagine the amount of guilt that's just been lifted from Reiner's shoulders. I mean, ultimately, he believes that he'll never be able to forgive himself. And yeah, realistically, it's the type of thing you just kind of have to carry for the rest of your life and just kind of manage somehow, right? As he tells both Connie and Jean, right? He's got a lot of experience here, and he is older as well, right? So yeah, I love the role that Reiner kind of slots into as well now. I mean, he's able to provide a lot of unique perspective on Eren's inner struggle and conflict and thoughts. Reiner is so important in this case, right? He's the one who kind of is able to figure out that perhaps Eren wants us to take him down, right? Perhaps that's his grand goal in all of this. And I think he's kind of nailed it. And I think his unique understanding of Eren, his unique relationship with Eren, allowed him to kind of tap into that thought process, to think like Eren might be thinking, because he's been there, right? Again, maybe not on this scale, but he's been there. I mean, Reiner continues to be such a fantastic foil to Eren, right? That Eren and Reiner relationship has been one of my favorites of the entire anime, of the story, because he does have an understanding for his enigmatic behaviors, right? He's able to kind of interpret flashes of insight, and that serves as essentially a guide to us, the audience, as well, right? Because anytime Reiner and Eren meet, different ages or different stages of life, it gives us, the audience, some fascinating new insight, right? He could be there to interpret his epiphany, perhaps, right? You kind of think of that incredible episode, that incredible moment in the basement down below, the Declaration of War episode. It's just a massive moment, right? For the direction of the story and the direction of the character arc from that point on, right? So again, he provides a lot of unique insight, but I just really love that Reiner is such an integral character still at this point of the story, right? In the final stages of the story, as you know, he's one of my favorites, and I love that he still serves as this character who is in a position to interpret Eren's inner machinations, but also staying on Reiner. It's clear that he still carries so much guilt, right? You see that moment, all that time ago, right? The things that played out in episode 2, and then of course later on, I do get that incredible flashback episode, him deciding to continue that mission. You see that he thinks about it. Surely he thinks about it like every day. And it's really quite realistic, isn't it? Because it makes sense that he thinks about that moment. Because to him, it feels like the moment everything changed, everything was put into motion, right? And he must hate himself for not making the other choice. But the thing is, he should not have been in that position in the first place as a child. He was in no position to be making any decisions of that magnitude, yet he was forced into that situation. He was put out there. I don't know, man. It's just, it's sad to see the amount of, I mean, it's the insurmountable amount of guilt that he carries up until this point and is going to continue carrying from this point on as well, right? Regardless of how the ending kind of plays out, I think this is the type of thing you just kind of carry at all times. You know, it kind of reminds me of a concept from another incredible anime. Actually, maybe I don't want to get into it. I don't want to spoil anything by accident. And I'm speaking of Vinland Saga, of course. But again, like I mentioned earlier, all of these things kind of give him that experience, don't they? Right? And now he's able to kind of guide people like Connie, who are really struggling at the moment. You see, Connie is really struggling at that moment. And you know, he gives him a little bit of hope, shares a bit of insight in terms of how he handled all of this. So I love the role he's playing now for a lot of these characters. You know, that moment he puts his hand on his shoulder and Connie puts his hand on his forearm. Oh, like I said, I just love seeing all of these characters kind of come together and have such an understanding for each other's struggles at this point. Now, I kind of want to shift the focus to the beginning of the special, right? Because I actually do think maybe it kind of peaks really early on, right? Again, it's a subjective thing, but I think that segment, the rumbling, right, that concludes in perhaps one of the most perplexing, dark moments of the entire series, right? The freedom scene, I suppose. Young Eren, the depiction of young Eren. This time you see his eyes in great detail. The delusion is so clear. I mean, the depiction of the rumbling. Again, you know, the focal point being Ramsey and Halil, his brother, I think, or cousin. Yeah, it's a deliberate choice, of course, right? And it is so horrifying in its detail. It is so detailed. I mean, it's got to be one of the darkest things that they've, you know, showcased on this anime or in this anime. And yeah, you know, again, the expressions are so detailed, man. I mean, this really drives it home. If at this point people didn't understand, or a certain segment didn't understand that this is the thing he put into motion, this is the thing that's happening to innocent people, to children. The focus here is really quite deliberate, isn't it? On a lot of the innocent people, a lot of the people that really can't help themselves. You know, they show a lot of the older people, a lot of moms and their children. Again, Ramsey and Halil. These are also people that are outsiders as well on top of that, right? It's not showing any of the higher ups from Marley getting trampled, because I think Isayama really wanted to drive this point home, really showcase who's on the receiving end, who else is on the receiving end, right? Because I know, and all of us know, that people could take that approach of, okay, you know, some of these rich people, some of these higher ups, they deserve this, they have this coming, right? But that's not the focus here. The focus is these people, and they are dying in perhaps the most brutal fashion imaginable, burning alive, getting stomped or crushed to death. The whole scene, or the whole sequence, really feels like a bit of a masterpiece of Shingeki. It does. It really does. Just the setup of it, the delivery of it, the transitions, the cuts, the contrast. And in this episode, I get the build-up that happens before Mikasa comes up on Eren in the last episode, and he has to wipe his tears. Yeah, he is just breaking down. He is so apologetic for the things that are going to happen to Ramsey and everyone else. He is just so incredibly sorry about all of it, but he knows it's going to happen, right? But the thing is, he himself put it into motion as well, right? So it's hard to argue that he had no choice, right? I don't think you can really argue that at all. And then, of course, if the actual Stampede of the Titans is not enough, or not horrifying enough already, you've got the major revelation. This is a bit of a twist right here. This is a major revelation. For that reason, I called the ending of this segment or sequence baffling, perplexing, again, horrifying as well. You have Eren Yeager admitting that it was for me. Listen, of course, I don't think it's just that. I don't think that's just the one grand reason and everything else was just a cover. But the fact that it is one of the reasons he put it into motion because he was disappointed that the reality of the outside world did not resemble his dream, right? Nothing of the sort. There's people out there, people that hate me and my kind. It was different from the world I saw in Armin's book, right? His childlike mind kind of latched onto that idea, to that notion. You know, once I defeat the Titans, once I take them out, you know, they stole my freedom from me. The Titans, you know, once I eliminate them, then it's all out there. As far as I can see, freedom, right? He latched onto that idea. Young Eren actually wanted the propaganda to be true, that no one exists outside of the walls. Humanity does not exist out there. But that's, of course, that's not the case. Humanity does exist, and he was disappointed. He was so disappointed that he wanted to wipe them out, right? I mean, that whole scene is so dark. I mean, the score in that scene, fitting, really quite fitting as well. I mean, you simply cannot mix that tone up. You simply cannot read that scene in any other fashion or manner. It is a dark moment, right? It's a horrifying moment. I mean, the contrast between the devastation down below and then it transitions to the clouds above, right? You could even argue that's potentially the steam from the Titans, right? Oh my God, that is just so jarring, you know? Essentially, you know, the symbolism there is head in the clouds, right? He is so detached from the actual reality of things that are being put into motion. It's almost as if he's creating that playground of sorts for him and Armin to discover. I mean, it's, you know, realistically, it's more of an extermination, right? Population control. I just feel like it's such a game changer for him to admit that, to kind of have that moment now as well. That, listen, man, there is some selfish reasons for this. And the thing is, you know, this isn't really even just unique to Eren either, right? This concept of conscious and unconscious desire. I mean, I've seen it throughout the series, you know, be it through Commander Smith, be it through Reiner, right? They all have selfish reasons for the things that they do. That's why there's this understanding for some of the things Eren might be doing at the moment. Some of the things, right? Reiner is able to kind of relate on some level. But yeah, honestly, I do think it's one of the more iconic moments, or one of the most iconic moments of the series as well. You know, again, Child Eren spreading his hands. This is freedom. I mean, it's got to be one of the most memorable, right? It's the type of moment that you never forget. Yeah. And of course, who does he bring along? Or at least for that moment, Armin. Because of course, that's the dream both of them had together. So you had to bring him in. But also, you know, I don't think Armin told anyone about that incident. I'm not even sure how long Armin is actually in there for. At that point, seeing all of this, and you know, then there's a bit of a strange moment. This bird kind of lands, and this is after he kind of comes out of it. It's a great transition actually to the next segment of the episode. You know, in terms of that bird, you see Armin is quite, I don't know, surprised or shocked to see that bird fly up next to him and kind of sit there. I don't know. Is that meant to be Eren kind of watching over them? You know, it was beginning to feel like that. And, you know, at that point, I believe I said, no, you know, surely not. But I mean, the presentation of that scene, it makes it feel like, yeah, you know, there's something much more to it than just a normal bird. Again, given Armin's reaction to it as well. And also, before I move on from that portion, I really like the intimate nature of that conversation that's happening, right? You know, of course, they find themselves a bit of time before they get to their destination. You see that Annie does kind of begin to feel a bit guilty about this situation, thinking about this, right? But, you know, I think this is the exact time someone is going to think about something like this, think about their future or how their future could look, right? And then you really begin thinking about the people you really care for, the people you really want to be a part of your future. And for Annie, that's Armin. And also for Armin, it's Annie, right? It's a mutual thing. But yeah, you know, at the end of the day, given the nature or the cataclysmic nature of the things put into motion now, this is the time you do think about those types of things, right? Because before then, it's kind of like, it's just in the back of my mind. I don't really need to talk about this. Let's see, I don't know, maybe it might come up down the line. But now, it's almost forcing them to think about their future and the people they really care for. So I thought it was a great moment. I really did. These two have a lot of history together. You go all the way back to season 1. I mentioned the scene in the alley. The conversation about a good person, right? But then, of course, Armin. Armin. How impressive is Armin in this episode? The commander. My goodness, that moment, Heicho calls him commander. It's crazy, right? Because right now I have that image of Armin from season 1, right? That bowl cut. But of course, even then, I believe I used to talk about this in my discussions. He's got all the qualities to become commander one day, and it finally happened. I mean, of course, the situation itself is quite sad, but he is commander on merit, right? As Hanji said, you've got all the qualities that a commander requires. So to see him go into this final conflict as commander is really an incredible moment of the series and an incredible moment for this character arc, right? And like I mentioned, many of us saw this possibility that he had all the qualities of becoming a commander. And I love that Heicho actually agrees. He believes in Armin. He believes that Armin can do the job. That's the feeling I got. But also kind of going back to the devastation of the rumbling, and at that point, it being that persona, that depiction of Eren, right? Child Eren, the ignorant child Eren, I suppose, or childlike Eren. Head in the clouds indeed, right? Symbolically, it's quite the poignant moment. But the thing is, that version of Eren, the child Eren that is, had really quite a distinct drive and goals in mind, right? There was a simplicity in the clarity of those goals at that stage of his life. So I don't know, man, perhaps channeling that Eren kind of helps in suppressing some of these really difficult emotions of having to go through with the things he's putting into motion or has put into motion. I mean, there's a really sad moment, right? It's a bit of a, I don't know, it's kind of creepy, but it's also really sad. It's that one shot of Eren, the actual Eren, right? That head. It's at the bottom of the frame and it's just covered in darkness. And this is as Armin is speaking with Annie about, their dream together. That was just, oof. It really hits you. It certainly hit me to see him like that, right? But yeah, this version of Eren shows up again in the Path Realm alongside Ymir, side by side, but both their eyes, or both of them have their eyes kind of, in the shadows. You can't really get a read on them. And, that almost immediately becomes this jarring presence. To me, it almost even kind of felt like there's this sense of subservience through both of them, right? That depiction of them. Perhaps that is around the age both of them did get the Founding Titan as well, right? Maybe it is also pinpointing a moment of trauma for both of them, the type of trauma that you carry forever, essentially, and it still kind of shapes how you do things, how you kind of look at things. There's a lot of shared trauma there. Ymir, the founder Ymir, and Eren. But you see that Isayama-san effectively just takes care of that whole, let's talk. I still want to talk. Armin and Mikasa really want to talk to Eren. Eren brings him in almost immediately, tells him there's no need for a discussion. None of that's going to be happening. I'm not going to take anything from you guys. You have your freedom. You're free to come at me, right? Cut me down. I believe that was the line of dialogue. And he essentially said something along the lines of, it's inevitable, right? That this is going to happen, that they are going to clash. And again, as Reiner essentially correctly surmised, I think he does want this, right? And it's not something new. I think, I've certainly discussed that possibility for some time, I think, in my discussions. And I'm sure many of you have had the same idea or notion as well, right? And they've set it up nicely, right? Isayama-san has set it up nicely that he has been distancing himself for some time now, right? Long before becoming this, long before that. Of course, there's that really memorable and iconic moment at that restaurant, as he is definitely trying to distance himself from both Armin and Mikasa, right? I mean, it's a heartbreaking moment for Mikasa, but us, the audience, knew he doesn't mean it. And again, it was Jean who helps her kind of realize, come on, there's no chance he meant that. And of course, at this point, by the end of this episode, this special, the ending is really laid out quite clearly, right? They're going up against him, and most likely they are going to take him down, because ultimately he wants that as well, right? The whole setup is there. There's an audience. They are going to be the ones that might save the world from this pure evil. Ultimately, he's giving up his freedom for theirs. But that being said, I think there's still so much room here for a lot of fascinating moments, character moments, revelation moments, perhaps. I think Ymir still might have a massive role to play here. I mean, I got a cameo on 2 different occasions in this episode. The first one, she appears to Ramsay as he's getting crushed. Or is it the opposite? Is it more so Ymir kind of present in that moment, kind of taking in the things they put into motion together, rather than Ramsay actually seeing her, right? But you see the reflection in Ramsay's eye. Could be an artistic approach as well, but yeah, I don't see any reason for Ramsay to be... Yeah, he shouldn't be able to see Ymir, right? He's not Eldian or a subject of Ymir. And I'm sure I'll get much more of a focus on her and her relationship with Eren as well in the next episode, or I mean the last episode, I suppose, finale part 2. There's a whole notion of her potentially moving on for good. There's a whole notion of eliminating the curse of the Titans for good, right? Is it going to be eliminated? Is there going to be an ending that might start the whole thing all over again? There's a matter of Zeke. Zeke's really quite crucial to the rumbling taking part, right? Royal blood and all that. How is he going to come into play? Surely he is going to come into play as well. I think now that they've kind of focused on this aspect of it, I think I'll get much more of both Ymir and Zeke, and perhaps even more of Eren, right? Actual Eren, the real Eren. Surely that wasn't the last time they talked to each other, right? Inside of the Path Realm. And I'm speaking of, Mikasa and Armin getting to talk to Eren, their friend. Surely there might be a moment that is going to allow them to speak one more time, truly speak. I certainly hope so. Also, you have that incredible setup moment, Falco and Gabby approaching Annie, who's really playing the part of Guardian for sure. But something they say and bring to her attention really gets her quite interested, because he's having these dreams or visions or memories from Zeke, because he is one of Zeke's Titans, right? He didn't take on the Beast Titan, but he still is one of his Titans. And they've made it crystal clear at this point, his Titan is going to fly. Like I said, he was always destined to fly. You go back to the ending of season 4, part 1. I think that's still one of my, that's got to be the best. For me, that's the best ending. It was clear, right? The symbolism there, him and the bird. And then, of course, Falco's Titan looking like that. So, yeah, they've made it pretty clear. They'll take flight. So that should be quite interesting, to see that sight once they potentially show up on scene. It'll be really quite helpful, I suppose. But yeah, Eren Yeager, a person chained to his destiny, right? But also tortured by his internal struggle and conflict with these thoughts, right? These are his own thoughts, right? He's at odds with the things he does not want to do, but also knows that he is going to do, right? Like I said, it was really good to finally get this internal monologue, even if it is really quite sad, right? To see him go through this, to see his struggle. He kind of holds out. He holds out for a long time, thinking that maybe I'll see something different. Maybe I'll experience something different. But at each moment, it's the same. It's as I thought. The future's not going to change, as he tells himself over and over. Another moment that is essentially confirmed to be a memory that he saw, a memory of the future, Sasha's death, and him immediately asking Connie the last words, right? They confirm it. They show the scene from the alley, that he has a flash of. So he saw that scene, and us, the audience, sees it in the last episode as well, right? Alongside the scene of Sasha's death. So yeah, he saw that moment. And at that moment, I think that is truly the moment he kind of broke down. It was almost kind of like the last chance in his mind to see if anything changed at all. And yeah, he felt Sasha's death for sure. And Connie understands that as well now. He has that empathy for Eren as well. But to sign off, let's kind of say goodbye to Hanji. I think it's a tremendous send-off. And it's certainly quite the deserved send-off as well. I think it's one of the greatest scenes of the anime, isn't it? And of course, the animation on display is stunning. Her flight sequence, it is just beautiful. It really is. Much like how I see her for the first time in the series, she's still full of enthusiasm. She's still the same Hanji, isn't she? But yeah, the shot of her falling to the ground, like a fallen angel. You go back to the opening of season 3, part 1. Perhaps there's a bit of Icarus symbolism there as well. But before she actually heads into that final flight, Levi telling her Shinzo Sasageo. My goodness, it's a beautiful moment. First time he's saying it, right? I'm pretty sure that's the first time. But I love that it's kind of he took it back. It was being stated in the most pure form once again. But yeah, it's an incredible sequence. And then, of course, the afterlife moment. Moblit, of course, Moblit's the one to reach out first. And you see a lot of familiar faces. I believe that is Sasha, who's standing beside Keith Shadis. You've got, of course, the Commander Smith. The moment I heard that voice, oh, God, that was just beautiful. And the thing is, it's a lovely send-off, isn't it? In the sense that now they can all just kind of listen to her stories. Right. And, Commander Smith admits you had it tough. And once upon a time, Commander Smith said that the ones that are left behind are going to give meaning to our sacrifices, meaning to our life. So yeah, now they watch. And Heicho said it too, now you watch us. My goodness, it's a beautiful send-off. It really is. But folks, I think that should do it for this one. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in full length, and of course, timer-based full length, or perhaps even full opacity, no mask on top, consider checking out the Patreon page. The links are in the description and the pinned comment. Also links to social media, Twitter, Instagram, if that's your thing. I'm usually really quite active on Twitter. Maybe not as much recently because I've been a little bit busy, but yeah, I like to be active on Twitter. And I do like to post about the stuff I'm checking out. Shingeki, I do post about Shingeki there as well. So yeah, check it out, support the channel. I would love to see a lot of familiar faces, new faces as well, of course. That's always, it's always lovely to see a lot of new people show up. But yeah, I'm really quite excited to see familiar names and profile pics. So yeah, I'm excited for that. Of course, once the homie Cephazin gives me the green light, I'll dip into the comments at some point. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, folks. And thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for the grand finale, part 2, the special part 2. Until then, take it easy.